Hey guys, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to be updated every time I make a new video. Thanks, let's begin. To celebrate Volume 2 of the Shawscope Brothers box sets, let's look back at Volume 1, starting with the one that had a punch that made him a king. Five Fingers of Death, A.K.A. King Boxer. Boom. This is the 1972 martial arts action film from director Chang Wei-hyung and produced by the Shaw brother Run Run Shaw. The plot: two groups of fighters are training at their respective academies for an upcoming tournament. However, one keeps harassing the other, and that other has to try to avoid the violent attacks at all costs. However, it won't be easy. Everyone from students to outside assassins are trying to take down the school's best students. However, one in particular will be a bit of a challenge, especially after he masters the Iron Fist technique. Motorhead Zakalin. I was actually kind of surprised how much I had enjoyment with this flick. No offense to Asian culture, but I've always found it's kind of difficult to get invested in these kind of movies. Although a lot of the Golden Gamera and Godzilla films are a bit tedious at times. So you have to kind of get to know the characters in order to stay awake. And their personalities are not that strong. So here it was a nice change of pace. Also, the action is non-stop right from the beginning. Continuous fights that escalate and get more and more violent with each passing blow. You would think, oh, it's a fighting movie from the 70s. There's no way it could be that bloody, especially because it's from the early 70s. That was my mindset too. However, damn. I did notice that this film does take inspirations, though, and influences from films such as Django 1966, with a certain scene that comes to mind with a man getting his hands crippled before the big showdown. Still, this film takes a lot of cliché things, yet it doesn't forget that it has a story to tell and action to show. This could have been even the inspiration for The Karate Kid, but just the opposite. In The Karate Kid, Daniel is basically given immunity to the bullies, so he can train to fight them. The difference here is that there is constant sabotage. The characters, and this will take a bit because there are so many characters. We have Chao Ching-ho, played by Lee Lu from Human Lanterns. He was the killer in that movie. He is the new student at Sun Senpai's academy. He goes in already a pretty decent fighter, but comes out on top, which makes him the prime target for this movie's villains. However, regardless, he holds his own and impresses several times over.
Yo! Good. That's excellent.
He's also got a woman back home, and a potential lover around the village he's training at. Thankfully, this movie doesn't go for the whole misunderstanding angle with his true love and potential lover. It's handled perfectly and is actually quite sad. I'll get into that in a bit. Sung Ying, played by Ping Wang, who is Chiho's rock. She is supportive of his fighting, and the actress has to pull off a pretty emotional scene, which I think she does well. Then there's Hang Lung, played by Seok Han Nam, who is also a student at San Pai's academy or school. And I know I pronounced it Sin before, but I think it's Sin. He was formerly the top pupil until Chi-Ho arrived. His jealousy seethes, and he ends up doing some things that could be considered treachery. His mutiny shows just as much as his anger towards the current teacher's pet. Speaking of Senpai's school, the man in question, played by Senpai, I guess I messed that up, but just played by someone else. I forgot who it was, but his character's name is Senpai. He's an expert fighter, however, he is getting older, and he needs to pass down the Iron Fist technique to someone who is not only qualified, but whom he can trust. Then there's Yan Chu-hun, played by Shin Feng Wang, who seemingly goes through 3 different haircuts throughout the film. She is the potential lover to Chi-Ho, but thankfully, he doesn't give in to her passes. She is actually a real tragic character. She deeply loves Chi-Ho and helps and supports him every chance she can, or is willing to. However, she doesn't want him to fight. Like I said before, this could have led to a misunderstanding between his potential lover and his true lover. Thankfully, no love triangle is formed, and no dilemma interferes with Chi-Ho's training or the eventual tournament. She does eventually go to aid Han Lung because he is seriously injured and needs assistance to pinpoint and to take down his targets. The result had me shocked, to be honest. Another revelation comes in the form of a character. Shang Lang, played by Ki-jo Kim, comes to a realization in the movie that makes him pick a side. And the side he chooses is for the better for him. Although it does come out subtly, it's sort of out of left field. Main Tun Shun, played by Fang Tang, represents the other dojo, where his merciless gang reside. He's a despicable leader who is also very manipulative. He graces Shang-Li with food, beverages, and a partnership that he'd be crazy not to accept. He shows his hospitality while having an underlining agenda. He also recruits his son, Sai Len Yang, who might be listed wrong on IMDb, and a few others, including Okada, played by Hassan Shao, and his 2 pupils, all of whom wear clip-clopping wooden shoes. Sun Wu Yang, played by Wen Xiaoku, is Chi-Ho's fatherly figure. Try saying that 5 times fast. And the father of Sun Ying. Now try saying it 5 times fast. He can fight and is given enough to do to remind us that he's in the movie. We also have a cameo by Bolo Young. He is damn young in this movie. I mean, his last name is Young, but you know. He even went on to star in American productions like Bloodsport and Double Impact, both starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. This movie has a huge cast, but thankfully most of them are memorable. About 75% of them. You will not forget them even if you sometimes mix them up. The cinematography is colorful and vibrant. But when things get more serious, the lighting and tone get darker. I do love the interior sets, and the final boss fight inside his home is well done and with great shadow play. Five Fingers of Death has a great pace to it. It never slows down to a bore or bogs you down with countless character interactions. When characters interact, it's either short and to the point, or will lead to a fight. My God, there are so many fights in this movie. The gore, the effects, the fight choreography must be touched upon first. It's a bit silly with strains pulling actors of old and young into the air. However, there is an iconic sense to it, with the brother fighters and their clacking sandals and the nearly bald conflicted fighter. Everyone has a great look and fighting style to back it up. The brothers use swords while the balding one uses his headbutting as a power move.
Chen Lang, why don't we stop now and call it quits, eh?
This is Shen.
The latter made all the more awesome when people used the same technique on him, and he looked stunned. What was also stunning were the shocking scenes of violence. 2 pairs of eyes are plucked out. A man's decapitated head is not only brutal, but a symbol that the person whose head that belonged to lost the fight. We get bloody heads and stabbings as well. Untamed and unmerciful, this film is just wild. The motion picture soundtrack, Young Yu Shen, who also composed The Killer Snakes and Mighty Peking Man, the latter of which will be another review for the Shawscope Brothers collection because it isn't the first set, does a phenomenal job here. His exciting score accompanies the scenes with dignity and honors the characters and their fights. There are slower and more romantic character-driven scenes that really help to convey real emotion between characters. There's a piece of music that was used here, but not really his. It's called The Angry Siren, and it comes from a late 60s to mid-70s detective show called Ironside. It was created by Quincy Jones. It works really well here, though. The show starred Raymond Burr, who was also in the Americanized version of Godzilla, as well as Godzilla 1985. Why do we even bring that up? Well, Akira Ifukube composed a lot of Godzilla, and I feel Yu Shen's work on this movie has some of those elements worked into it. Yu Shen has over 200 composing credits to his name, so he must have done something right. Overall, while this is a fun time, it was a bit cheesy, but in all the right ways, and serious when need be. The characters are surprisingly deep and very memorable. Action-wise, the film flows through with fists. Instead of too many discussions, we get fights to satisfy. If you don't mind bad dubbing or martial arts films or even action films, I would say it'd be a disservice not to check this one out. It's a lot of fun. Overall, I give 5 Fingers of Death, A.K.A. King Boxer, a 3 out of 5. Thank you all for watching, and Lion Brian Gatto, the Horror Shark. Make sure to like, comment on, as well as share this video. Like my Facebook fan page and support me on Patreon. Where even $1 a month will help keep this channel going on strong, and I greatly appreciate it. Plus, you get access to body counts and other music videos that you cannot get on YouTube because of copyright and age restriction. You also get early access to other videos that I have not posted on YouTube yet. So check that out. Even $1 a month, man. Come on now. Don't be stingy. Monetary support, if you want to support the channel through PayPal, it's horrorshow37@gmail.com. I greatly appreciate that too. But if you don't want to support me with any money, just hit that notification bell to be notified every time I make a new video. And as always, subscribe.